It is play-in basketball. We saw a couple games last night. Ja got thrown out in the fourth quarter of that one and wound up being a 25-point blowout.
Trae Young.
Trae Young. What did I say?
Trae Young. I don't know what we had so much. You know, we talk about Ja. Oh man, he's blowing, and he was about to be the face of the league.
Trae Young, when he went into Madison Square Garden, you remember that was
waved off
and all that. He was supposed to be the new villain, the Reggie Miller, and that kind of.
Yeah, and he led the league in assists this year and total assists, and like he's good. But like you thought you were going to get more from him. You thought his teams would be a top 5 team. You know what I mean? Like he's a shoo-in in the postseason. He's going to be a regular villain in the postseason, and he's just not there. And you start to realize, like, man, he may not be, and maybe still young. He's still relatively young, but maybe as of now, Trae Young can't be the guy of your team. He can be your
he might
Robin, but he can't be your Batman.
Yeah, and he still could be very good as a Robin.
If that's your Robin, woo, all right.
And then the Warriors game, the second game, obviously, blew a 20-point lead and wound up winning the game. I did have the Grizzlies plus 6.5, so they did cover.
It was like 3, 4, 5, yeah.
It was 5. 20.
Man, if the dude inbounds the ball instead of getting a 5-second call, maybe they tie the game up.
That's a terrible. You
gotta get it. You can't. If it's
what does he play on Duke? He can't get the ball inbound,
dude.
What
was
that?
At some point you got to do the throw it off their knee thing. Like your internal clock goes 4, and just throw it off his knees. Get a new clock.
But tonight, what are you looking for to play in? We got a couple more games, obviously. The Mavericks, we're going to see them.
Yep. We got Heat Bulls. That's going to be first here, coming up in about 20 minutes or so. Then, like you mentioned, we got Mavericks and Kings. And I'm looking at I have 2 thoughts going into
neither matchup moves you, does it?
No. Oh, no. I mean, yep. In 1997.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Heat Bulls in 1997? That's lit.
I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but the matchups – They're like the teams that shouldn't have made the playoff match.
And all I thought about was the conversations we talked about. Like, did anybody really want any of the either 4 of these teams in per se?
Look at is there records on that list?
Yeah, we can start with the other 2
under 500.
Yeah,
it's
not, and both the Western Conference teams. Like, okay, if Kyrie and AD, that's a different story, right?
But they're hurt.
But they're hurt. Obviously, AD's
Kyrie
nicked up and Kyrie's hurt, and the Kings, you don't know what they are. Once they just got rid of De'Aaron Fox, and they're a very, very disappointing team. We all had them going pretty far. You thought they were going to be something with De'Aaron Fox.
A couple years ago, man. They look like they were going to make
They were supposed to be, like the Rockets. You know, like, ooh, this young team that's coming. And that's disappointing. So 2 things I look at. You kind of took one of the points. So you get up, you wake up today, really good play-in game with the Warriors and the Grizzlies, goes down to the wire. Great game, some great offense. Ja pushing through an ankle twist that looked really bad. Baines going crazy. Steph, and Jimmy Butler. We'll get into that conversation later on in the show. So you're thinking, all right, okay, that was fun. What we got today? And you look at these matchups, 2 things come to mind. One, I'm looking at really 4 teams, but 3 out of the 4 that this season made some moves that I personally didn't agree with. And now they find themselves in the play-in, and to more importantly, moving forward, they find themselves in, well, what exactly are we moving forward?
You shouldn't be able to get into playoffs if you trade De'Aaron Fox.
So
do you know what I'm saying?
So you took where I was going. Yep.
You shouldn't be able to get into the playoffs.
And their mindset is it's a new day, and here we go, and we got a chance.
But you know what? Like that is the one that's kind of like, what? They're in the playoffs?
Yeah. So I'm looking at these teams, and I'm kind of like, all right. So you got the Mavericks. We'll start with the Mavericks. They trade Luka for whatever the reasons. I'm not a fan of it. We've talked about it to nauseum, but they make that move. I think it was not a great move, especially basketball-wise. Obviously, we've talked about it. Maybe it's clearly money, or it's clearly they got a deep, dark secret. They ain't said nothing
yet. They haven't
said
anything publicly, but there's some reason other than basketball that they didn't want him.
So okay, then I go to that. But I look at them and I say they made a move. They're struggling. The guy's hurt. Anthony Davis was out for a while. Now he's back, but he's nicked up. Kyrie's out. So I'm looking at them. Then I look at the Miami Heat. You and I sat up here and we debated about Pat Riley. What's he doing? Is he standing on business, or is he holding his team hostage, not figuring out a way to do something with Jimmy Butler? And they're in the play-in.
Play-in.
Stop calling it the playoffs. They're in the play-in. And so Now I'm looking at the Heat like you made bad decisions. You could have maybe held on to, got something for Jimmy if you could have. You could have just, made some moves earlier. So now I'm looking at them in this position. And then we talked about De'Aaron Fox with the Kings. They decide to move on. They get rid of De'Aaron Fox, who requested a trade. He was supposed to be their star, put up 30 a game. And now they're in this position. So I look at these franchises, and Zach LaVine finally gone with the Bulls. So all four have made moves that they either could have made earlier, or I just don't agree with the moves, and the Mavericks move specifically, and the holding on to Jimmy. I would have wanted to get something for Jimmy, earlier. And now I'm looking at him as, where are these franchises going? So that was the first thought. 4 teams made moves, and what are they doing? And then lastly, and this goes to the Trae Young conversation a little bit, and your first thought of, I don't get excited. When is the Eastern Conference not going to be the Leastern Conference? Because it's been about 15 years of the Eastern Conference being the one you kind of go, always being Dolly Parton, top heavy. They always have 2 or 3 up front. If it was the Pistons for a while, and it's the Celtics back with the KG,
but
and
this
now
year
Celtics.
with Cleveland, and they got Cleveland there.
That's my point. You got Cleveland, you got the Celtics, Milwaukee-ish.
Well, the Knicks are supposed to be.
Man. But it's like the Eastern Conference, man. Why aren't they the star-driven? Like, how long are they just going to be the conference where you're just like, maybe 3 or 4 teams up front, but after that,
All right, where are you on the matchups here? Is it what if we asked you? What are you looking for out of these matchups? Seriously, what
I'm looking for?
Are you looking for AD to maybe show like his worth?
I'm gonna tell you.
What are you looking for?
I'm looking for, with the first game, Bulls Heat, I'm looking for the Bulls, Jacoby White, to absolutely ball, who has been balling the last couple of months of the season, and to put himself, look, the playoffs or play-in is where you make your fame. The regular season is where you make your name. The playoff play-in is where you make your fame. Jacoby White, ball out, Giddey as well, who's been averaging basically a 21-point triple-double the last, couple of months as well. He's a free agent. I'm looking for the Bulls to say, hey, there's life in Chicago, the 3rd biggest city in America. So that's the first thing I'm looking for.
AD to reestablish himself.
Remind people
that, I get your Luka love, but I can play. You know the difference between me and Luka? I actually won a championship. And he was a big part of it. He wasn't on nobody's coattails. You remember that?
You could argue he could have been finals MVP.
He should have been finals MVP.
It was a fair
He made that
debate.
Remember that big shot he made?
Denver, yeah.
Yes, against Denver. And he just balled out. He was really, really good.
He was balling. No, and he had everybody was kind of mad that he didn't ball out against Luka's homecoming, because they're saying both of you traded. This is your moment, finally going up against each other in this setting. And AD was all right, whereas Luka, dang near 50.